Good afternoon, students. All right, today we are going to cover copyright and fair use. I don't know how much your teacher has already told you, but we're just going to go ahead and cover all of the basics so that you have a solid understanding of what copyright is and why it is important. In fact, copyright laws and fair use are two concepts that are going to be super important for your entire academic career and possibly your professional career, depending on what you guys decide to do with your lives. So, let's get started. All right, so today's lesson is going to cover a discussion, and then we're going to have an activity, and then I'm going to share some resources with you guys so that you will be prepared in the future if you have any more questions or you just need some additional information. So, what is copyright? I'm not sure if anybody here has heard of it, but we're going to go ahead and just cover the basics. So, copyright is a set of laws that protects creators and their works, such as art, writing, images, music, and digital materials. Thanks to a conference that was held in 1998, anything that is produced online, i.e., the internet, is automatically copyrighted. Doesn't matter what it is. Now, copyright laws are used to define intellectual property. And what that does is it protects creators from having their work stolen by making sure that nobody is legally allowed to copy, remake, or use their work for monetary gain. Copyrighted materials have to be protected by being cited or having express permission to be used. That permission is called a license. Most universities or even public schools like ours have various licenses with databases to use materials or ebooks. I'm sure you guys have noticed that within the library already. All right. All right. So there are three types of information that fall under the copyright laws. Traditional copyrighted work that can't be used at all without express permission. Permission can include having a license, which you probably have some experience with if you've used any of the databases or informational portals available here in the library. Or it can just be as simple as citing your work in your research papers or projects. It really just depends on where you're getting the work from. Most databases are going to have rules that require citations in order to be used. Creative Commons work can be used under specific rules that are often referred to as the fair use policy. However, that is not always the case. Many authors will simply assign rules to their work if they have it posted in the Creative Commons. Typically, it just requires you to give credit or cite the work when you're doing your research projects, papers, etc. for your teachers, and they direct you to list the author and the title of the resource that you are using. That is what we're talking about when we say give credit. Authors just want people to know that, hey, I wrote this. I made this. This is mine. Another big one is that they don't want their work being used to make money for somebody that is other than themselves. So don't copy their work and then try to pass it off to get a job or as your own work to in a journal or something like that. We don't do that. The last type of information is what's referred to as public domain works. And as you kids say these days, these can be used willy-nilly. What that means is no permission, no restrictions, as long as it's older than 1923 or the creator died a very long time ago, upwards of 20 or 30 years at least. Or the author just placed their work within the domain. Typical examples of public domain works include government websites, educational websites, anything that ends in .gov, .org, or .edu are typical public domain websites. You can also simply Google it in your search. Just type in what you're looking for and then type in public domain, or simply just type in public domain and it will take you to some websites that have works that you can use. Project Gutenberg is a really good example of this. It has over 70,000 ebooks and other resources that are completely uncopyrighted. You can do whatever you want with them. And I'm talking, you can copy them, you can print them, you can edit them after you've downloaded and printed them. They're just, it's completely free. It's public domain. So here are a couple of infographics to sort of give you a picture of what we just talked about with the traditional copyright, the Creative Commons, and the public domain. This is the symbol for traditional copyright, the C in the white background. If you see this, that means the work cannot be used, adapted, copied, or published without permission. It applies to all original work. So you need that license, you need those credits, the citations. It's really important. The Creative Commons, this is the symbol. If you see this on the work, it's Creative Commons. And these are the ones, again, you can use without permission, but as long as you follow the creator's rules. Typically, this just means giving some credit. The authors, the creators, they worked hard to make these things. They just want some credit for their work. All right? They don't want you to try and use their work to make money. So we're not doing that. And we're not changing the work that they did. They, again, worked very hard for these things. So we're not taking it and changing it and trying to adapt it to our ideas. That's a no-no. Public domain, again, these things can be used however that you really want to. No restrictions, no permissions needed. This is the symbol. If you see this, you're good to go. As long as it's published prior to 1923. Now, most things you can check to see when it's published. It's going to be at the top of the thing under the title or at the front page of the book, or if you're talking internet resources, it could also be at the bottom or the back of the book. It's going to be very obvious. And then the second infographic we have here is just covering the basics of copyright, which we've been going over. You know, it tells you, hey, this is a legal right that protects the creators and the materials that they have worked so hard on. Lets you know that, you know, why do we have copyright? Because these creators, these authors, you know, maybe it's you, maybe it's me, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's your mom, but they work hard to make these things, this art, this music, this video, this book, this poem, this whatever it is. And they have a right to not have their work stolen or reused or sold or used to make money off of. So that's why we have copyright laws. That's why they're so important, because it helps to protect creators and creativity. Now, some common copyright violations. A lot of times, copyright violations typically are accidental. People don't, students especially, they don't realize what they're doing. So some things you need to be on the lookout for. You guys are very into social media. I know you have your Twitter and your TikTok, Facebook, whatever. Posting any image, photo, or video without permission that is not yours, that could be a copyright violation. Now that does not count with sharing things, because if you share it, that still shows who the original creator or poster of that was. All right, two totally different things. Reusing large portions of text without permission. So if you're really feeling some lyrics to a song and you just go copy them and then post them on your status, that's copyright. That's not okay. But more than likely, this is going to apply to your academic work. If you're writing a paper, if you're doing a presentation, and you're using a resource and you're like, hey, I like what this person is saying here. This is exactly explaining what I'm supposed to be explaining. So you decide to copy a whole paragraph and you put it in your paper. Not okay. All right. And then lastly, creating a spin-off work based on somebody else's idea. I believe that is referred to typically as fan fiction for books or comics. If you don't like the way it ended and you decide to write your own, you're still stealing the original idea, the characters, the plot from the original author, which makes it a copyright violation. Most authors probably aren't really going to do a whole lot with it. I know that they have plenty of fan fiction websites and things like that, but still, if you're going to do it, acknowledge the original work. Acknowledge the original author. Acknowledge the fact that you're basing your work off of their work. At the very least, it could help protect you in the future. Now, you might be wondering, what's the worst that could happen if I copyright something? Well, the least worst thing that could happen is that you're simply forced to take whatever it is down. This, of course, only applying to internet and social media. Now, In terms of school, the least worst thing that could happen uh, is simply that you get a failing grade for that assignment. The worst thing that could happen is that you get sued and you have to pay a huge fine, or you get kicked out of college. And then you will be forced to live with that embarrassment for the rest of your life. All right, so what we're going to do now is an activity so that you can demonstrate your knowledge of copyright and fair use. We are going to divide you into pairs and provide you with 2 papers. Okay? One is going to be a flowchart to help you identify copyrighted materials. And the second is going to be a worksheet. The worksheet will need to have 5 resources. They can be print, video, digital, it doesn't matter. You're going to list them on the worksheet along with their location and then what you think their copyright status is based on your knowledge of copyright, what we just went over. And your papers will look like this. All right, so here are your papers. This is your checklist. As you can see, it's very basic. It has some helpful links. I know you guys have your Chromebooks that you brought with you today. You can use those if you want to, or you can use the library computers. It does not matter. And you will be allotted 30 minutes to complete this assignment. Here is a picture of the copyright organizer, the worksheet that we talked about. It's very simple. You guys are working in pairs. One of you can fill out the top. The second of you can fill out the bottom. Just make sure you write your name so I know who's who, and so your teacher knows who's who. And then follow the directions. It's very simple. And we'll see who can do the best with their activities. Those of you that do well enough, I've got some stickers. You can have stickers. Or maybe your teacher will even let you have like a token for our reward system that we have in place. And then as promised, here is the list of resources. Here's the list of references and resources. I will be printing this for each of you so that you all have a copy. And then, of course, if you need any further assistance or you have any more questions, you are always welcome to come see me in the library, and we will make sure that you have a good understanding of what copyright and fair use is.